In summary, for the past 2 years, I've been financially supporting my sister by covering her rent and childcare expenses under the pretense that she was returning to school. However, I recently discovered that she hasn't followed through on her commitment to pursue further education. Consequently, I made the decision to cease my financial assistance. This has caused tension within my family, particularly with our mother, who is concerned about the possibility of my toddler and niece being left without a home. I firmly stood my ground, explaining to my mother that my sister's failure to uphold her end of the agreement rendered the situation beyond my responsibility. Despite investing a substantial sum over $42,000 for rent and approximately $199,000 for childcare towards supporting her, my sister's deceit has left me feeling betrayed and compelled to discontinue my aid. The initial agreement was that my sister would pursue her nursing degree, which she had postponed due to her pregnancy with her ex-boyfriend, who has since disappeared from the picture. Although she has been working part-time at a nursing home, her failure to pursue further education has left me questioning the validity of continuing my financial support. It's important to note that our mother, living in a one-bedroom apartment within a 55-plus community on a fixed income, is unable to assist financially. While I initially stepped in to provide my sister with a fair chance, I have reached my limit and can no longer bear the burden alone. Despite the backlash from my family and feelings of guilt, I stand by my decision to prioritize honesty and accountability. It's unreasonable to expect me to continually bail out my sister, especially when she has deceived me for 2 years. If my family feels strongly about the situation, I encourage them to step in and provide the support that I can no longer afford to offer. Ultimately, I refuse to sacrifice my own well-being and financial stability to enable my sister's lack of responsibility. Moreover, the primary responsibility for your niece lies with your sister. It's her duty to pursue child support from her ex-boyfriend. It's frustrating how the responsible member of the family is often expected to clean up after the irresponsible ones. I've witnessed this scenario far too often. $61,000 is a substantial sum to spend on someone else's problems, even if they're family. Your sister should feel a sense of shame for accepting the money without any remorse. If she doesn't, then she's displaying entitlement and playing the victim. She freeloaded for 2 years, yet now you're being portrayed as the villain? Ridiculous. The family should be extremely grateful for the 2 years of support you provided. Doing a good deed doesn't mean you're obligated for life. Public assistance has its limits. Has your sister even applied for it, or is it just easier for her to sponge off you indefinitely? Now, the thought of your sister having to secure a job and support herself and her child without relying on you seems to elicit horror from some family members. What has she been doing for the past 2 years while you've been covering child care expenses? Surely, there's a portion of the day when she's free. Has she been actively seeking employment or simply indulging in Netflix binges? It's outrageous how she managed to deceive you for 2 years. If your mother is upset about the situation, she can either contribute the funds herself or take your niece in. Tell her, I've covered expenses for 2 years, now it's your turn. As for those who feel compelled to chime in with their opinions, simply provide them with your sister's Venmo account and invite them to contribute as much as they'd like to assist her. Furthermore, individuals who lie about educational funds are despicable. Many people struggle to access such opportunities, and she squandered it. As a 48-year-old woman, my eldest son, who is 22, wishes to marry his fiancée, whom he's been with since they were 20. I used to admire her. She's intelligent, fits in well with the family, and brings joy to my son's life. However, everything changed once they became engaged. My fascination with jewelry began in my later years. Once married and financially stable, I delved into collecting rings. I took pleasure in designing them myself, often pooling cash gifts from friends and family toward my purchases. This practice is customary in my family, as well as within my community, where cash gifts are common at celebrations. While I occasionally received birthday money, it was never relied upon to finance my jewelry acquisitions. Rather, it served as a welcome addition to my savings for these treasures. Though I didn't acquire a new ring every year, over time, I amassed a pleasing collection. Among my favorites are a sapphire ring adorned with a halo of diamonds, an emerald ring flanked by 1-carat diamonds in a trilogy setting, and a ruby ring set in a PV band. Following my son's engagement, during a dinner at our home, my daughter-in-law approached me with a request. She expressed a long-standing desire for my emerald ring, noting that I wore it less frequently than the others. She asserted that it would make the perfect heirloom engagement ring for her. This request was made in addition to discussions we had as a family regarding wedding gifts and expenses, including a substantial gold contribution valued at approximately $6,000, a figure surpassing the cost of my own wedding, which I still consider significant. I must admit, her demand struck a nerve. I found myself accusing her of prematurely laying claim to my belongings before my passing. I reminded her firmly that the ring was mine to do with as I pleased, even to sell on my deathbed if I so desired. I firmly asserted that she had no entitlement to it, deeming her request impertinent. In response, she raised her voice, insisting that a ring of such sentimental value should rightfully be passed down while the owner is still living, rather than sold. I confronted her directly, asserting that if her intention was merely to lay claim to my possessions, she was not welcome in my home. In a fit of anger, she stormed out, dragging my son along with her. As a result, she's now furious with me, and my son believes I should have simply handed over the ring to her, citing the fact that I own others and it would have been a gracious gesture to welcome her into the family. He compares it to his sister occasionally borrowing items from my collection. While my husband and daughter are supportive of my stance, it's disheartening that my son has chosen to side with his partner in this matter. This marks the first time he has shut me out like this. So, am I the one at fault here? To provide further context, my daughter-in-law already possesses an engagement ring, a 1-carat round-cut diamond set in a half-paved platinum band, boasting the highest clarity and color. It's certainly not an inexpensive piece. My son sought my advice in selecting the best stone for the ring, and I ensured that the design matched her preferences. Additionally, my husband and I have set aside funds for their wedding, and due to my long-standing relationship with my jeweler, we received a considerable discount on the making charges. Despite her youth, it's common knowledge that one should never intrude upon another woman's jewelry box or shoe closet, nor should they insinuate that someone is past their prime and no longer in need of such possessions. Thus, I stand by my actions and do not consider myself at fault. Your future daughter-in-law's behavior appears erratic, particularly considering their tender age for marriage. Best of luck in navigating this situation. The fact that you and your husband have already contributed to subsidizing your daughter-in-law's engagement ring, only to have her deem it inadequate and demand another one, speaks volumes about her entitled attitude. It's concerning and, quite frankly, disrespectful. An engagement ring typically holds sentimental value, symbolizing the love and commitment between two individuals. However, for your daughter-in-law to casually dismiss the significance of the ring you've already provided and request a replacement indicates a lack of appreciation and understanding of its true meaning. Moreover, the notion of her referring to it as an heirloom is misguided, as true heirlooms are passed down through generations within a family and are not typically given away during the owner's lifetime. It's important to be cautious about loaning her any valuables, as her entitled behavior may lead her to believe she's entitled to anything she desires. In light of these concerns, it's wise to ensure that any valuable items, including your rings, are kept in a secure location where she cannot access them. While it's hoped that such precautions may seem unnecessary, it's better to err on the side of caution given her behavior thus far. On a separate note, reflecting on your past experiences with your ex-wife, Jane, it's clear that the pain of betrayal and subsequent divorce took a toll on your well-being. In the aftermath of your separation, you understandably grappled with depression but found solace and purpose in dedicating yourself to your project. Despite the challenges you faced, both financially and emotionally, you persevered, demonstrating resilience and strength in overcoming adversity. I successfully launched my own business and have achieved financial stability. About a year ago, I met Aisha, a 25-year-old woman, and we've been in a relationship ever since. She brings immense joy to my life. Meanwhile, Jane, my ex-wife, got remarried a few years back and has since become a single mother of 3 children after her husband left her. She's facing financial hardships, and despite her past infidelity, I couldn't help but feel sympathy for her. Therefore, I offered her financial assistance, providing her with monthly support and occasionally looking after her kids. Last week, Aisha discovered this arrangement and became furious, equating my assistance to Jane with infidelity. She demanded that I cease all support for Jane, expressing her discomfort with the situation. When she inquired if Jane had made advances toward me, I admitted to the flirtatious behavior but assured her that I had established clear boundaries and had no romantic interest in Jane. Unfortunately, this revelation led to Aisha ending our relationship abruptly. I had been planning to propose to her next month, and the sudden dissolution of our relationship left me devastated. Despite my attempts to reconcile, Aisha has not responded to my efforts. To compound matters, my friends, who are fond of Aisha, have expressed disappointment in my actions. They label me as foolish for aiding Jane, asserting that I owe her nothing and that she's exploiting my kindness. I find myself questioning if I'm indeed the one at fault in this situation. It's bewildering to contemplate the idea of financially supporting an ex-wife who cheated on me, jeopardizing my current relationship and everything I hold dear. OP, it's concerning to see you financially supporting your ex-wife, especially considering her infidelity and the fact that she has children with another man. One would expect her to pursue child support from the father of her children rather than relying on you. The fact that she doesn't seem to feel any shame or embarrassment in accepting your support speaks volumes about her character. It's clear that she sees you as a convenient source of financial assistance, and it's disheartening to see you being taken advantage of in this way. Maintaining contact with your ex-wife and providing her with financial support, despite her betrayal, raises questions about your self-respect and boundaries. If I were in your position, I would find it difficult to continue supporting someone who had betrayed my trust in such a profound way. Furthermore, the insinuation that you may still have feelings for your ex-wife, as suggested by Aisha, is troubling. It's essential to prioritize your own emotional well-being and not allow yourself to be manipulated or used by someone who has hurt you in the past. Turning to a different matter, the situation involving your former stepmother is undoubtedly challenging. While your relationship with her and your half-siblings may have been complicated, it's commendable that her brother reached out to you for assistance in her time of need. Considering her terminal illness and the limited time she has left, it's understandable that her family would seek additional support in caring for her. However, it's essential to carefully consider your own emotional and logistical capabilities before taking on such a responsibility. While it may be a compassionate gesture to offer assistance, it's crucial to ensure that you're not overburdening yourself or compromising your own well-being in the process. I emphasized that refusing to care for their mother would sever my relationship with them permanently. For context, my mother and former stepmother were once close friends until my father and stepmother's affair came to light. The betrayal shattered my family, leading to heated confrontations and lasting animosity. Following my mother's passing, my former stepmother's behavior at the funeral further exacerbated tensions. She disregarded boundaries, attempting to assert her presence as my future stepmother despite objections from my mother's family. The fallout from these events strained my relationship with my father, who remained loyal to my former stepmother despite my reservations. His passing when I was 20 marked the end of our strained connection. When approached by my former stepmother's brother about caring for her in her final days, I made my stance clear. I would not provide support or comfort to someone who had caused so much pain to my family. However, my half-siblings, fearful and overwhelmed by their mother's condition, reached out to me in desperation. They pleaded for my assistance, expressing their inability to fully care for her due to school commitments. Despite my deep-seated resentment, their vulnerability tugged at my conscience. The prospect of leaving her alone in her final moments weighed heavily on my conscience, presenting a moral dilemma that I struggled to reconcile. I expressed my apologies and acknowledged the pain of witnessing a mother's gradual decline. However, I clarified that I wasn't responsible for her situation. In response, my half-brother questioned my love for her, to which I affirmed that I did care. Nevertheless, he advised me to distance myself from both her and them. Upon learning about the situation, my paternal aunt urged me to display more maturity, love, and compassion towards my half-siblings. She suggested that I prioritize their well-being over any resentment towards their mother. Offering to care for her herself, she aimed to alleviate their upcoming year's stress. My refusal led her to brand me as cruel and selfish, likening my behavior to that of the person I despised the most. Am I the one at fault here? I don't think so. This individual isn't closely related to me, yet their family is attempting to shift responsibility onto me, which strikes me as strange and unethical. It seems they only reached out when they needed assistance, suggesting a pattern of seeking help when convenient. Refusing to care for their mother shouldn't sever my relationship with them permanently. Their attempted emotional manipulation is transparent. It appears idiocy runs in their family, providing further incentive to keep my distance. Allowing my stepmother's family to handle her care and assume guardianship of the children after her passing seems like a sensible solution. I'm intrigued by the audacity of those who insist that this responsibility falls solely on my shoulders, especially considering my young age and lack of a blood relationship. Criticism directed towards me only invites a flood of crushing responses. I find it surprising that anyone would even attempt such a thing. If I were you, I'd politely suggest that they look elsewhere to offload their responsibilities. My wife, who is 38, and I 40, have been married for 9 years. Together, we have a pre-tween son, and she has a teen daughter named Jenna from a previous relationship. Additionally, I have an 18-year-old daughter named Dawn and a young teen daughter from my ex-wife, Dor, who still lives at home and is finishing up her senior year. Dor has always been diligent. She began earning money at the age of 10 through babysitting and cleaning, and by the time she was 14, she was already working. For the past 2 years, she has been dedicated to her current job, saving up money while also doing nails on the side. Moreover, she has maintained an impressive academic record, achieving an average in all honors courses this year. My ex-wife and I agreed that Dor deserved a car, and I managed to secure a great deal from my brother who was selling his. When I shared this news with my wife, she became upset. She pointed out that Jenna had only recently obtained her driver's license and doesn't have a job to pay for car insurance. Moreover, Jenna lacks significant driving experience. I acknowledged her concerns but clarified that Dawn, being 18 years old with 3 years of driving experience, had truly earned the car this year. My wife argued that Jenna also deserves a car, citing her good grades. However, I reiterated that without a means to cover insurance costs and lacking sufficient driving experience, it wouldn't be practical for Jenna to have her own car at this time. My wife became upset, insisting that she should have been part of the decision-making process regarding the car, rather than my ex-wife, given that Dawn lives with us. She expressed her frustration, poured herself a strong drink, and blamed me for her actions. However, I don't believe I'm in the wrong here. Others agree that our 18-year-old daughter has rightfully earned a car over the past 3 years. While it's understandable that my wife wants equal treatment for her daughter, she fails to acknowledge the differences in circumstances between them. Furthermore, her reaction, blaming me for her drinking, is manipulative and unacceptable. It's clear that my wife is prioritizing her daughter's desires without considering the practicalities or fairness of the situation. She hasn't contributed to our daughter's car fund, yet expects equal treatment for her own daughter. This behavior reflects her manipulative tendencies and a disregard for reason. Ultimately, her expectation for us to finance her daughter's car is unreasonable and unfair. If she insists on it, she should be willing to contribute from her own savings rather than expecting us to foot the bill entirely. It's crucial to address her manipulative behavior and ensure fairness in our decisions as a family.